Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great week. Good morning. As you all know the drill, I will be just sharing a couple of housekeeping rules, which is also up on the screen for everyone to settle down and to get ready for the finals. As you know, you're strongly encouraged to use the rename function to change your name to full name and then team name, which I've seen that many of you have already done. And if you can kindly change your virtual background with the ones you've created for your team. Please do kindly turn off your microphones when you're not speaking, but do have your cameras on at all times. And you're also welcome to utilize the chat box if you would like to pose any questions or comments. And we'd like to also remind you all that today's event will be recorded, and you will have access to the recording after the event through Edmodo as well as our YouTube channel. Lastly, please note that the screenshots and group photos from this workshop will be used for promotional purposes. So kindly let us know if this will be an issue for you and we'll act accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, now shall we begin? Yes, welcome finalists, distinguished judges, and WeGO members. Thank you all so much for making the time to attend the finals. I understand that most of you are quite busy with your finals week and exams, so I appreciate that everyone has made the effort to participate today. Today, Jenny and I, the leads of the Champions program, will be your moderators for the finals. From last week's semifinals, 11 teams were chosen, and today's finals aim to select the winning 3 teams of the WeGO Smart City Champions. Today's finals will be discussion-based, and we will be able to show you how well you have understood your project and how well you can think on your feet.
We will have a total of 2 sessions, the first in which the finalists will have an ice-breaking discussion with WeGO, where you will be randomly asked questions on your general project proposals. And the second session will allow you to interact more with the judges, and the judges will take turns addressing more specific questions that are tailored to each team. So I'd like to also remind you all, as you have already seen in the guidelines, to keep your answers as clear and concise as possible for time management and efficiency. So I'd like to now take the time to also welcome back our judges, Callum Hanforth and Gina Boak. They have both provided insightful feedback to all the finalists last week. And on behalf of the WeGO Secretariat, the Secretary General and the head of the program department will also be present here to contribute to the evaluation as well as to the discussions. They may pose any questions or address any questions that they may have during the sessions. And you'll also have the chance to interact with them further during the second session. As also announced to you before, and as well as in the guidelines, today's discussion will reflect 50% of your total scores, and the other half will be from the final project proposals that you have all submitted prior to today's workshop. And in the case that judges and organizers need further clarification on your final project proposals, we will be actively reaching out to you during the evaluation week, which is now until June 17th, so next Friday. So it will be much appreciated if the teams can be aware of this and respond accordingly to help us with a more smooth evaluation process.
Yes, so now, before we delve into our sessions, let us take a quick photo to commemorate the finals. So please turn on your videos if you have not done so already. We will just wait for about 10 seconds for you to do so. Please have your cameras on and give us your best smile. Right, are you all ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, great. I think we are all good. So let's now move on.
Great. Now let's dive right into the first session. Anna and I would like to ask each team a question, and we will be calling the team member. So please be sure to pay close attention. The question that we will pose will also be posted on the chat box. So please feel free to monitor the chat box as closely as possible. And if you would like to use any visual aid when answering to help us further understand, please feel free to use the screen share function as well. Again, please be as clear and concise as possible. And WeGO has also had several questions pertaining to your proposals and to your presentations from the semifinals as well. So we'd like to have a better understanding of your ideas at this time. So I'd like to first start by asking the first question to ACE Millennials. I hope that everyone from ACE Millennials is here. I understand after having reviewed your project proposals as well as your presentations that your project strives to achieve food security, and it does so by diversifying the agriculture sector. And your team mentions the use of artificial intelligence and robotics, as well as blockchain and drones, in order to achieve this goal. So I'd like your team to imagine that you're in the stage of implementation. In this situation, who are the key partner organizations that your team will identify to meet the objectives of this project, and why? Maybe I could call on Tilyenji if she is present. If you can just unmute yourself and...
Thank you, Jenny. I'm here. And before I actually give the answer or a response, allow me just to quickly say thank you to the WeGO Secretariat for according us this opportunity, because not only have we been able to draft this proposal, that where we've also been able to learn so much more about sustainable cities, smart cities, and also various innovations from our friends. However, when we're looking at the implementation of our project, the stakeholders that we intend to bring together, firstly, and most important to us, firstly, is the community, the local community. For us, the local community, firstly, are the nucleus of our project. Not only in the project side where we're looking at as Mukushi, but anywhere else where we intend to roll out our project. We hope that the community is going to be the nucleus of our project. However, we are also looking at various stakeholders in this proposal, such as the government of Zambia. And the government of Zambia, we look at ministries such as the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Tourism. And we cannot implement a project without looking at the mother of the city, and the mother of the city tends to be the local authority, who are the municipality. So in this process, we'd still like to incorporate the municipality. And to also bring back the project to home, we also want to see include local investors. But our project is very vast, demands a lot of money and various innovations. So with regards to finances as well, despite us, we are looking at least even some sort of partnerships or PPP, even a grant or a loan form that we can actually get from international funding organizations. We support, for example, Dohwa Engineering, who are already funding innovations like this one, and some currencies like that. We also look at the World Bank, who look at funding such innovations, the European Union, and then with the arm of Metaverse as well. We are so excited to say, hopefully we can get Zuckerberg to look at us and see how we can interpret our project, because we're looking at giving education as our farms should also provide education. So if we can also find a way in which we can get Meta on board and say we can get Meta on board, we will be able to implement our project well. I hope that gives a sufficient answer to your question.
Yes, thank you so much, Tilyenji, and to all the members of ACE Millennials. And I also wanted to thank you guys for being so involved and so active and enthusiastic for our program. And we've seen all the effort that you've put into your final proposals as well. So we appreciate all of your work, or all of your dedication and commitment to this program. And thank you for answering my question. I think I definitely have a better understanding of your project, in a sense that you want to have several stakeholders and partner organizations that you want to target across different sectors, including Ministry of Tourism, local investors, and even institutions like the World Bank and the EU. And I hope that we can further develop your ideas, your team's ideas in the future. So thank you so much, Tilyenji.
Thank you.
Great. I would like to address my question to Achilles. And I'm sure many people will agree that their project, which is to construct a smart emergency system, it is indeed one of the ways to save the lives of people. But there are some concerns with new technology, and not everyone will be on the same page. And so I want to ask you, what if some people don't buy into your proposal? And how would you persuade your opponent that your project is the most efficient and effective solution? How would you, yes, address that issue? I would like to ask Tian Hong Gui from Achilles, if you could mute your mic and turn on your camera. The question.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
I think
You're unmuted. Please unmute your mic.
Okay, let me see.
There's echo.
把你们那边的关了。
echoing a little bit as well.
Okay, so in terms of our starting point, we are a emergency system, you know. We're gonna improve the efficiency of the emergency in Chenghua, China. First of all, we are targeted at our patients. That is to say, we gonna improve the efficiency of the emergency treatment for the patient. We try to minimize the waiting time for our patients, because you know, for the heart disease, you don't have too much time. Even 1 minute or 2 minutes more will kill, the people will die. So time is very important. So this is our starting point. And after we search some informations and reading some literatures on the platform, if we found that the researchers so far are not that enough. So we come up with the idea of improving the system, the emergency system. And in terms of our platform itself, we have a lot of modules. For the emergency module, we got as I mentioned in the PPT, we have a one button for emergency function. That is to say, by using this app, this function, we can locate the driver, the ambulance driver can locate the patient immediately, and by using this app, he can choose the best route, which can arrive at the patient's place in the shortest time. And of course, by using this app, the ambulance driver can see whether which is the best route, and whether if the weather is good or not, or if the road is crowded or not. So by using this app, the ambulance driver can try his best to arrive at the place in the shortest time. And during the emergency treatment process, also during the response, in the response to the patients, we got the module. We got other modules like apart from the drivers, we also have the worker, the one who responds to the patients, like in the hospital. You know, in the hospital, you got a worker to receive the call from the patients. So we're gonna do some trainings for that, the workers related to the emergency response process. So that's yeah, that's all for my.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for making it clear that your purpose of the project is to shorten the time where people can really receive the treatment as fast as they can. I think that is a good point to start with when you're explaining to people like what objective you're trying to achieve with your project. I think that is good. But I would like to say perhaps you can also explain or try to make sure people understand this technology is not something they should fear or something that will not go wrong. I think that kind of explanation can be made to your opponent as well, since this type of new technology will perhaps be used by some older elderlies. So yes, that was great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And my question now goes to CDUT Warriors. Your team, as I saw in the proposal, also focuses on addressing air pollution with the construction of very effective microclimate adaptation designs, such as the implementation of the toolbox or as you mentioned, the digital twin platform. But I saw that it has a degree of complexity. And given the complexity of that system, what are some of the foreseeable challenges that your team may face if your project is to be implemented in the future? And I'd like to ask Chao Long Lee, if he is present, please unmute yourself and kindly answer the question. It's also on the chat box if you'd like to refer to the question.
Yes, please wait a minute. Pardon me. I'd like to talk about what
Yes, Chao, the question, if I may reiterate, it was how would you address and what are some of the foreseeable challenges that your team may face if your project is to be?
To solve the ventilation while meeting the landscape needs, we propose the concept area urban furniture. First, we think the whole street as a building and combined with geothermal heat bulb at the same time, reverse unpulsed hood and section hall are set up on the building or street. It incorporates prevailing wind into the duct and maximize the wind speed through the venturi effect. Then the air is sent to the branch pipe through the main pipe. The turbine in the branch pipe intelligently supplies the wind according to the current wind speed. Then the wind finally is supplied through the furniture. In this way, the turbine until not only rotate by electrically, but also the wind, which greatly reduce the energy consumption. As an important linear element of the block, street lines are one of our main focus. For different street forms, we create a static wind toolbox for different ventilation street lines. Now we take one of the area urban furniture as the case of thinking. When the wind enters the air inlet, it will drive the anemometer to rotate the transmit to current wind speed data to the terminal, and the terminal transmits commands to the turbine to change the rotation speed to suitably speed up the wind. The anemometer transmits the feedback to the terminal and shares the data through the cloud platform. Then we accept to build an international of thinking version digital twin platform based on Things.js, which enable managers to monitor and manage terminal online and intelligently control urban wind environment. Thank you, that's all.
Great, thank you, Long, for your explanation. I think most likely we had a deeper understanding of how the system works, especially in a technical sense. You guided us through how you would implement it and what it serves to do. I do hope that perhaps in the second session, we can hear about maybe the foreseeable challenges that your team may likely face as a result of your system or your tool that would be implemented. And so we hope to see and maybe understand further about your project in the second session. Thank you.
Now, I would like to address my question to Citypedia and Miss Bella. If you are here, please unmute your mic and turn on your camera just in advance. And I want to ask that considering your project is help people processing the laws in using the metaverse, which is quite fascinating. I loved your idea. I want you to imagine that you are to implement your project, and who are the key partners or partner organizations that your team will identify to meet the objectives of your project.
Okay, so thank you for questions. And I think there are a few main roles in our project that we'll cooperate with. So first of all, as you mentioned that our project includes a lot of technical elements. So some technology groups and some scholars is the first and main role that we will cooperate with. And the specific aspects that we will cooperating with is the metaverse psychotherapy team, including the natural language processing team, the computer vision team, and the psychotherapist team, which will use tons of data to generate a psychotherapy bot and establish them into the metaverse environment, and then continue psychotherapy. So that will be the first like part of people that we will cooperate with. And secondly, government is also important in our project. So, so first of all, the government will provide some local, the money support for us to locate and to conduct the on-site project, the on-site funeral park, which is important for the on-site activities and the face-to-face funeral, and also the museum conduction. So this is the first role of the government. And the second role of the government is that the government should provide a government population API, which is a website to work for our Oracle and to trigger our smart contract, which is an important part to let the whole process of heritage and world transportation in our metaverse, in our blockchain. So the second role is government. And I want to supplement a little bit on the second functions of government. The Oracle, the smart contract means that the government should provide the information of population's life status. So the government should tell us that the people really died or the people really happened something, so that their heritage or will smart contract will be triggered. So this is a supplementation. And the third role that will cooperate is the market. So there are a lot of investors and sponsors in our project. Actually, there are 3 stages. And in the second stage, we will start an online function. So during the online function, we need money to develop our dApp, develop our metaverse environment, and conduct a lot of online services. So during this part, there are some not a very big financial support, but some testing financial support, which is required from private investors and sponsors. We may do some so initial financing in this period. So marketing is also a role that we will cope with. And through the second stage, through the sponsor, we will tell how this idea actually work in the market, so that we can continue to join the third stage, which is to set up the face-to-face constructions. So this is the market. We need to use its sponsor, and also we need to use its feedback. After cooperating with market, there are still the civil society and community, where local people and improvement to retrofit or establish new graveyard is important for us to continue to promoting our ideas and propaganda our desk culture. And lastly, some social associations engaging in desk education is also important for us to promoting or educating such a brand new desk culture, brand new desk idea to people in our society, and make them from using the DApp, from using the metaverse functions, until getting to the actual use of the on-site funeral museum, make them finish the whole acceptation of the brand new desk culture. So to sum up, there are actually five parts that we will cooperate.
Thank you so much for sharing the details. And yes, they're well thought of, and I'm really impressed that you have think about all the details, even including the marketing, how you're going to promote your idea to people, because at the end of the day, the end users have to utilize it. So that's great. I'm glad to know more about your project. It's quite good. And thank you. Great job.
So my next question goes to EE4BF, which is Effective Energy for Better Future. I also saw that your team aims to reduce carbon emissions in cities by relying on more renewable energy and resources, for example, through the installation of the micro hydro systems and wastewater pipes. And there are a couple of other diverse kinds of renewable energy technologies that are already existent and that have already been implemented or will be implemented. And I was wondering what the advantage of the microhydro system is over other more renewable energy solutions in reducing carbon emissions. And from this team, I'd like to ask Alamin. If you're here, please unmute yourself, and then if you can answer the question that's also on the chat box.
Okay, thank you very much and good morning. So the whole goal about our project is integration. So yes, irrespective of the fact being that we do want to reduce carbon emission using this particular method, we also look at how we are going to integrate it with other existing methods. So generally the renewable energy scene is still in its development phase, and we all know that due to issues of intermittency in terms of wind and solar, and then also region, the use of renewable energies like other renewable energies may not always be available. So you have a low solar intensity in some areas, you have low wind intensity in some areas. Even within the same region, you may have the two fluctuating at different times, you have different seasons and all that. So the main aspect or the main point of our own proposal is the fact being that wastewater is always being generated. Either it's been in the morning, in the evening, in the night, and especially when you are looking at the fact being that if you have large complexes, multifunctional buildings, you always have wastewater being generated there. And as a result of that, you could incorporate this turbine for generation of renewable energies. Then you also have rainflow, and then in some cases, even at the point where you are going to have effluent discharge from industries and sewage water treatment plants, you could have them installed there, and you could have reduced energy costs because it's the wastewater is always been there. On average, around 2019, Korea alone had like 72,000 plus thousand discharge of wastewater into various rivers daily. So that is accounting for almost around 126 million cubic meters. So when you look at that volume, it's very large. And then secondly, irrespective of the fact being that I'm mentioning effluent discharge at industrial complexes and sewage plants, the main concept of incorporating this into the buildings is that it's small, is compact. You always have wastewater being used. It's practicable. You have high-rise buildings in Korea, you have high-rise building in Kazakhstan, you have high-rise buildings in Nigeria. So wherever it is you go, you have that. But one thing we put into consideration is how we are going to make those turbines efficient enough for them to work in such constricted spaces so that we don't also end up causing more problems than trying to solve more problems. And the practicability behind it, hydropower has been in existence for a very long time. And it's always been used in off-grids, especially in terms of these small micro or pico hydro turbines. So we are trying to see how we are going to put it in buildings and how they are going to work. And the concerns about the head pressure, we have already taken that into account because we've seen some turbines which are already existing and work in head pressures as low as 1.5 meters. So if given the opportunity, I think even if not, we would want to try this just to prove the concept for future purpose and references. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much, Alamin, for answering my question very concisely and then clearly. I do agree with you that there are definitely renewable energy solutions and technologies that are implemented, but they don't quite take into consideration the different regional or local contexts. And so we do need some RE solution that meets all of these and universally can be applicable to all of the different contexts and local and regional contexts that there are. And I see that your team has put a lot of time into the research of even South Korea and other countries in terms of the wastewater management and the history of how it was utilized in that sense, in the renewable energy sense. So thank you so much. And thank you also for touching upon the practicality of it all. It really helps me personally to understand better how your future project can be implemented. So thank you, Alamin. And maybe next question.
Yes, so my question goes to ESC. So if Seoyeon Kim, if you can unmute your mic and turn on your camera. As your project proposal works to really increase the efficiency of energy usage and to reduce the carbon emission, I want you to help us elaborate more on what are the things that actually distinguish your team's proposal from other solutions. What, like some other solutions that provide the same benefit, but what are some things that actually distinguish yours? Could you elaborate more on that? Seoyeon Kim. She's here.
Yes, speaking. Can I ask one more question?
Sorry.
너 이거 안 들리는데?
Can you turn on your camera?
Could you turn your camera on? Yes. I can, okay, the question is in the chat, but I can also repeat it again for you. And I want you to elaborate more on what are the things that distinguish your solution to someone else's that provide the similar benefits.
Okay. 없어.
Can you say that what make our project unique?
Sorry, who's speaking?
It's
I'm
if you want to help out, yes,
Yes.
please. Go ahead.
yes. The question means what make our project unique for Okay. I think the specificity of our project is citizen participation in the.
Sorry to could you actually distant a little bit because we hear a little
sorry.
noise.
The specificity of our project is citizen participation in energy generation process. Our team seems to pay a lot of attention to solving environment problem like us, but our project does not involve only business and government in the process of solving environment problem with alternative energy products. Cities must participate in this process. So I think it is very unique. And that's all.
Okay, thank you so much for being concise. I do agree that yes, those issues are be dealt with government as well as corporate, but also your project is more focused on the participation of the social communities. Am I get your answer correctly? Okay,
You're
great.
nodding yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Right.
Great. Now, next we'll have Team Mecca. This team focused on metaverse, primarily in utilizing this platform for experimental or experiential learning and to provide that hands-on experience in terms of education. And provided that metaverse, and specifically the use of metaverse for education, is a very new concept. It is an up and rising concept, but it is new. So I wanted to know maybe Mecca's understanding, or maybe how they strive to, what are some of the challenges that you may see if your project were to be implemented in the future. I'd like to ask Yeogyong, I think she's here. If you can perhaps turn on your camera and your microphone and answer the question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Yeogyong from Team Mecca. Thanks for a great question regarding our project. Team Mecca aims to make customized metaverse education contents to customers. One of the biggest obstacles of our project is that the VR devices needed for our project is not yet widely universalized, nor it is easily accessible. Thus, we are planning to invest in purchasing a large quantity of VR devices prior to our project implementation to rent these devices to institutions in need, lowering the initial barriers to our project. Also, another obstacle would be the public reception. Not a lot of people may find the need of our project and may not find it easy to navigate. So that is why we're planning to have our first trial implementation stage at elementary and middle schools to students who are more receptive and they are digital natives. Yes, thank you for your question.
Great, thank you, Yeogyong, for your answer, and again for being very concise and to the point. I do agree with the two sort of challenges that you've addressed, and hopefully we'll be able to break these obstacles as we develop your project alongside your teammates. And I do understand that, yes, metaverse is not widely accepted as of now, but hopefully as we continue to do these trial runs to more accessible crowds and target audience, we'll be able to leap onto the next step. Okay, thank you so much, Yeogyong.
So, okay, next we would like to ask Team Moore, Min-Gyu Kim. So combination of metaverse technology with green roof, that's a great idea. And it really do seem to solve the issues that have been mentioned over the workshops regarding the maintenance and many others. The idea that you have proposed are very concrete, that you want to reduce the cost and increase the management efficiency using accumulated data and sensors automation. So I want you to tell us like who are the main key partner organizations that you have thought of and you have identified to work with regarding your project.
Thank you. And I think our project key partner is government and buildings owner. because first we have to make a green roof. And if the government do not offer subsidy to building owners, actually building owners do not want to create a good quality of green roof. So it is most essential part. And also building owner have to open their green roof, and they should create good quality of green roof, not just for meeting regulation just. And that two part is almost essential. And next step, actually sensor or management is some kind of sub part, but citizens' participation is most essential, because our ultimate goal is to want to citizens know about the green roof, and they run about the green roof's benefit. And also we have awareness of climate change and climate risk. So it is most important about to participate of citizens. And yes, I think that is most important part of our project.
Yes, thank you for pointing out the actual problems that you may face and like how to deal with that with the stakeholders. That's great points, like to really persuade the building owners like benefits that they can get, and also for the citizens to actually collaborate and cooperate in order to reach the global like agenda. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. My next question goes to WeGO. Your team has been committed to the restoration of markets, and to do so, your team seems to be focusing on multiple sectors and methods, including underground logistics for effective delivery, as well as the modification of store sizes and current parking lots. And you also have an application that will evaluate the markets based on the walk score system. But when implementing your project, I wanted to know who you are targeting. So who are the key partner organizations, perhaps, that your team will identify to meet the objectives of your project, and why? Perhaps if you can also elaborate on if you will tackle different organizations and corporations for each of these different tasks or sectors that you've identified, that would be great. Perhaps I can ask Minji Kim from WeGO to answer on behalf of the WeGO team.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Our key partner organizations are like local government and local community, where people actually use the market. We're targeting the local residents to go to the market and give them more reason or any attractive points to use the market more than any other big retailers or supermarkets or convenience stores. And we'll tackle different organizations, operations for.
So basically, because you had different areas that you've identified, for example, you wanted to elaborate on underground logistics for delivery. And you also wanted to have an application set up for walk score systems. So I just wanted to know maybe if you wanted to have one organization, one key partner that will cover all of these or if you plan to tackle different organizations and corporations or government for each of these different tasks.
We're planning to connect with various organizations for delivery or the program of metaverse, because one organization cannot control or manage the whole thing. So the delivery will more connected to the local government and deliver service, and the metaverse or an online program or application will be focused with the developers, and we might use or we might collaborate with already existing corporations like Kakao or Neighbor Map, and all those different corporations will collaborate with us to make the regeneration of the market.
Great, thank you so much, Minji, for answering both of the questions that I've addressed. And I can definitely see that you have thought this through, and that your team has different stakeholders in mind for each of your tasks. And I hope that we will be able to work alongside you in developing that and perhaps connecting you to these organizations as well to further your implementation process. So thank you so much, Minji.
Thank you.
All right, next, our question goes to Team Smile. Sarah Yoon, if you could unmute your mic, and we would like to, we know that your product proposal is more of a holistic solution to provide a subsidized EV charging system and to create a decentralized fueling network. And so I want you to imagine what if your project is implemented, and what would you say are some of the foreseeable challenges that your team may face? How would you tackle that? And yeah, please elaborate more on that, please.
All right, great. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, very good. So thank you very much for the question. So we think that the biggest and most obvious one is finding the funding and the right partners that actually share our ethos and vision. But if we win this competition, we hope to be able to gain some good level of visibility for a better chance in finding the right partners and gain a better leverage in our agreement with the support that we get from our foreseeable partners, such as City of Seoul, WeGO, and Seoul National University. And beyond the public sector partners, however, we foresee how the prospects of this initiative would also be very appealing to the private sector as well, especially given its large and growing role in the production of the EV chargers. And a last note, we also see how this might also challenge our potential opponents. So in that, we would like to appeal to our strong points, which is that despite the high initial cost of this project, when compared to the installation of conventional level 2 EV charging stations, over time, we think that our project can procure a higher degree of cost effectiveness while ensuring that we deliver a wider distribution of area, a greater number of cars that can be simultaneously charged, an addition of co-benefits in things like economic revitalization and renewable energy conversion. So those are the foreseeable obstacles or challenges that we may see, but we would like to solve those through greater partnerships, funding, and a greater public awareness of the importance of renewable energy conversion and the EV readiness. So thank you very much for your question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being so concise and clear on the point. Yeah, I see how you have also thought about the competitors that you might have. And yeah, definitely the funding, even though for every project, like the funding must be one of the biggest issue, like especially now that your project is also involving all the infrastructure development. And so yeah, I understand your point. Thank you so much.
Great. So last but not least, we have Team Standard. You have come up with a smart parking application, and that application aims to help drivers find more convenient parking spots. And during your presentation during the semifinals, you've also mentioned that this project can be replicated to be applied overseas. So imagining that your solution is indeed replicated in a different local context, what type of location would it be? For example, do you have a specific city in mind? And if so, why? I'd like to ask Eunjin Lee from Standard. You can unmute yourself and turn on your camera.
Yeah, so thank you for the questions. And we thought this platform, since we are developing like the platforms, not just in application, but we're also planning to like sell those platforms to the pre-existing applications. So we haven't like researched a lot about like the foreign cases, because we're trying to implement this application to the Seoul first. So maybe we are trying to, so maybe like successful implementation in Seoul would happen. Then we are thinking about like applying this, selling this platform to like United States, which also have like many drivers to those kind of city which utilize big data and also already have like CCTVs and many like pre-existing smart city devices, and then also struggling from parking issues. So so maybe successful after the Seoul's case, we are trying to sell our ideas to the city. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much, Injin. I know that this question perhaps is looking beyond the implementation of your project, which you mentioned was Seoul focused. But yes, I do also agree that if the implementation is successful within Seoul, we can also further brainstorm into how other twin cities, maybe of Seoul or other similar cities, similar in aspects of demography or population, can also be a factor that you can perhaps expand your project to. So thank you, Eunjin, for your answer and for elaborating on the question. And thank you to all the teams for engaging in this panel discussion with us. And personally, I was able to get a deeper understanding of your projects and see how your solutions can be truly implemented in practice. And it was also a great chance for us to just get to interact with you all, the finalists. Perhaps now we can move on to the second session where we will dig deeper and determine the feasibility of your ideas and the practicality of your ideas. As mentioned during the opening, this session will allow you to interact with our judges, and this Q&A session is meant to dive into each team's proposals and to allow the judges to support the finalists, essentially in further developing your ideas by identifying areas you can improve on. So Callum and Gina, I'm sure you both will have your own expectations for this session and for the teams as well. If the time permits, and I believe it will, I'd like to ask you both of your expectations from the teams for this particular session. It can be very short and it can just be an introductory or a saying hi sort of remark. So if Callum, maybe you would like to share first. Just your expectations for this session.
Of course. Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's a real privilege to be back here with you all and to see such hard work as well. Particularly as was mentioned during your very busy university and study week. So thank you for all your time. From my side, it's been a real, very exciting last week to hear more about your ideas. As we're digging a little bit deeper, I think we can push a little bit further about things like business models, how you're going to sustain some of your ideas, particularly away from funding like grant funding and others. But for me, just very keen to hear more about your projects and how you might take them forward. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Callum, and looking forward to your questions as well during this session. Ms. Gina Bo, what are your expectations from the teams for this session?
I think, hi again, everybody. It's very happy to see you again here. Like as I see the proposers last night, like as a person who's in the private sector, I was not trying to see too much about the money, the financial part. That was actually what I was focusing on, but I just wanted to see which one is more realistic and which one is very feasible and actually can be implemented in the real world. That's what I wanted to actually focusing on. But I also wanted to see the flow of the proposals that goes that can be actually implemented in the real world. So that's what I actually wanted to focus on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gina, and for sharing what your areas of priority and what you see in the project is. Thank you to both of you. So now let us officially begin with our second session. I'd like to give the floor now to our judges who will be taking turns addressing their questions to each team. So maybe Callum, if you would like to pose the first question to Team Standard.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. So Team Standard, again, great to hear your work last week and some of your questions earlier. I think one of the big questions from my side is when we do a lot of work around smart cities, it's obviously a very, very busy market, lots of different competitors. So be very keen to hear a little bit more about what you see as some of the kind of core differences between the kind of current solutions, the parking solutions in the municipality, and also the one that you're proposing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone from Standard can actually answer, so please feel free to unmute yourself and turn on your cameras and address Callum's question.
I would like to answer that question if it's okay. Just to double check with you, can you see me? Because Oh, I think
you,
I
but
have
we
a
can hear you
technical issue.
perfectly, so it's okay.
I am very sorry about this issue,
It's
but so
okay.
to move on, thank you. But so to move on and to try to answer your question, currently, as for South Korea, since we focused on Seoul as a pilot city for a project, there are 2 smart parking applications already on the market. However, this application rely on GPS-based information to suggest like parking recommendations to drivers. So against existing application, first, our application will rely on AI for real-time information, which is possible with already existing parking infrastructures in Seoul that are equipped with CCTV cameras and for some sensors technology. For those that don't have sensors technology, it's possible to, at a low cost, upgrade the CCTV with a sensor to make it a sensor-based CCTV. Those are really low cost, really. So they are, in terms of cost, feasible. Now, to return to your question, AI will allow us to be more accurately recommending parking recommendations based on the driver's preferences and the parking service provider supply curve. Second, our other applications do not offer the input option of preferences of the users and drivers who are seeking a parking spot, which could be distance, price, parking lot size, or even EV power station for EV drivers. So that said, we will match the driver to the best fit parking service provider according to his preferences. We also do not impose upfront subscription fees like other apps are doing, but charge a small matching fee of, we think, 5% when a match is successfully made. And third and lastly, we also provide an automatic matching option, just like Tinder, the love application, which relies on the driver's preferences and desired location, and the parking service provider's state-of-the-art known-for AI technology. These kind of options are time effective, and none of the existing applications have all of those free advantages on the Korean market, and have received also much criticism from their users already, based on preliminary market analysis conducted by our team through a short online survey. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for that hugely comprehensive answer. Thank you for that. You made me think about one other thing as well. You mentioned some parking lots don't have sensors already. I think what we've seen from some startups that can be successful is, looking for opportunities to diversify your income. So I really like how you're working with parking providers and not so much the kind of consumers, like this kind of more enterprise model. You might also want to think at some point that you have almost a kind of consultancy or other model where you're actually installing sensors as well to actually increase your market base and to offer a value add to the businesses as well. Probably not something you want to do from day one because it's hard enough trying to do everything on day one, but something kind of longer term to think about in terms of other revenue strategies could be very exciting. Thank you. That's great to hear.
Thank you so much. And if you don't mind, on that note, we actually have done a literature review on the sensors technology available on the market right now, such as vehicle license plate recognition sensors, sensors-based CCTVs, wave, etc. And we've compared all of those together in terms of whatever benefits and flaws they had in cost or implementation and all that. So we are aware of that. And like you said, it's something that is a plus to a project because we can tap into the IoT and technological sector by bringing in such companies. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. It's so great to see how you can interact and elaborate more further. Okay, next, Ms. Jinha, would you like to address your question to Team Smile?
Yeah. Yeah, there's the smile that itself, the proposal was actually well made from the beginning, as I remember. And but what the question I had from the beginning was actually, as you can see, lots of electric vehicle in the now, and it's not only about Tesla, it's all car manufacturing companies are investing to developing EV, right? And on top of the production of EV, all the countries like Europe, they're just making the carbon neutral continent. In US, they're expanding the charging infrastructure, and the Korea also having raising both emission reduction goals and EV production as well. And which means that there will be a lot of business models relevant to EV markets, and there are a lot of competitors there will be. So I just wanted to know, can you identify prospective competitors and kind of explain how your project will exceed what other competitors could provide?
So, Sarah, do you want to go first?
I will type the...
You can go ahead and I'll add on. Yeah.
Well, I think fundamentally the way we approach the we didn't really just approach this project as a business first. We sought this project very much as a problem-oriented solution towards smart city. It's a reaction about the geographical constraints of the term smart city, and how we can bridge the digital divide and its exacerbation of regional disparity. So, because we find that to be the social concern, in the greatest social concern of the fourth industrial revolution. So our goal is really to empower the citizens to produce the energy. So rather than saying that we're going to be heavily targeting the urban areas, we're actually encouraging a bottom-up solution. So in a sense, the only way to address this issue is really to take advantage of the opportunities from the smart solutions that can provide in all regions of the country. And it's only in this way that the technology can genuinely be inclusive to maximize the number of beneficiaries by our proposal. And it's through this diffusion that we will manage to have the biggest kind of market share. But it's in this application and configuration within a grassroots organization structure combined with the PPP model that makes it the most impactful compared to our competitors. And if we compare to the other conventional methods or competitors, we differentiate ourselves between with four junctures, which is wider distribution of area, the greater number of cars that can be simultaneously charged, its cost effectiveness because we're targeting level 2 charging, and in addition of co-benefits of economic revitalization and renewable energy conversion, which will be quite amenable or favorable for the local government. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but Sarah, would you like to add on?
Sure. I think Jason started off quite great in terms of what kind of competitors or what kind of opponents we may be able to face. But some of the examples more specifically that we would be able to give out at this point is that we would probably have to compete against conventional EV charging points and their providers, which are currently right now centralized around the execution by governments and the private sector. But what we do uniquely is that through the installation of EV charging points and PV solar panels on local households and local businesses, we try to diffuse and decentralize that over concentration of EV chargers in larger and populated cities. And I think that's a very important appealing point that we have in comparison to our competitors. And something that we also emphasize throughout our presentation and proposal is that we compete in terms of our unique and smart application and reconfiguration of existing smart technologies in a way that is more efficient, in a way that is more functional and viable. So in that sense, we would like to leverage that with our PPP model that makes it a lot more impactful in comparison to other competitors. And I think that in that regard, on the last note, we think that healthy competition with the aforementioned competitors is great, but what we really seek is a complementary and mutually beneficial relationship where our initiative and the existing infrastructure or the existing competitors can actually co-prosper. And I think that's where the spirit of WeGo really lives out, on the idea of leveraging of innovation, technology, and mutually beneficial partnerships and co-prosperity towards more inclusion and sustainability. So that's the extent of the answer that we would be able to provide for now, but would be more than happy for further discussion later if need be. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much, Ms. Book and Team Smile for exchanging your questions and answers and for the very interactive discussion. Let's now move on to a question for OKGo. Callum, if you have the question posing for OKGo, please, you have the floor.
Of course, thanks, Jenny. I'd just like to ask one comment to the previous team as well. I think it'd be quite useful to, so I think what's very exciting about your model is the data potential. So looking at how you're collecting data from EV chargers, from the kind of solar panel setup as well, that's a phenomenal resource that you could, I think, monetize quite excitingly. So I think looking through your P&L, there's some exciting things there on the kind of consumer side and subscription side. But I think I'd also think about actually how you can make that data valuable to particularly EV manufacturers, the municipality, and others. So I think also worth thinking about on that side too. Anyway, for OKGo, again, another really exciting one. I think what'll be quite exciting to hear more about is actually what you look to see as the kind of expected outcomes of your idea, particularly how would you define and start measuring the success of implementation as well. And I'll drop the question into the chat so you can see it too.
And again, anyone from OKGo can answer. So.
Okay. Firstly, I want to show some illustration we prepare for helping understanding our project. So we actually, our strength is we focus on the workability of the market because it is the most important things in our society. It is centered on humans, not a cutting edge technology, and it is really captivate young peoples and all generations through in the market. So as we divide into 3 layers of the project, we actually expect the outcomes for 3 aspects. So firstly, in logistics, we apply the quick delivery system into current conventional market. So we solve the problem of not walkable street because of many vehicles and delivery cars or trucks on the market. So as we introduce delivery system like other dog stores or convenience stores or big convenience market, we can remove all these undesirable features of the current traditional markets and then change into very open to every citizen and every resident around here, and also the customers and the merchant in the market. Also, so the left photo is current photo of the market, and then we change it to the next right one by implementation of our project. And then this is our overall overview of the project. And then, as you can see, smart fulfillment center and community center will strength of the walkability of the whole street. So yeah, before according to a lot of development driven by humans are focused on cars and transportation, but nowadays we we are realizing the real importance of human. So I will pass the method of measurement to other team members. Can you say, Do-young?
Okay, so we can like measure to like evaluate how this project is well applied is to evaluate the multiplier of economy and by data collecting, and also work score system, which is like measuring about is this street is walkable, and also like the user experience of these sellers, and also the people like monthly activity users to check the trend of them, to check this, to measure this project well applied.
Thank you both. That's really useful.
Oh, can I also add something?
Of course, yes, please.
So our project will be also evaluated, as Do-young said, by the movement of people. So we collect data from different points. So for example, we also have the metaverse level where we use the collection of data, how people use the metaverse, twin market as a place and what they prefer or what not, as well as we also collect the data of movement of people and how people visit the place, and also collecting of the data of sales. So it in general, the project goal is to define whether it's good, whether it's a successful project or not during 1-2 years, because people need to be involved in the project and understand that that's the new type of the market they can use. And then if in the first stages people will not be interested in the project, we will understand them through the different points. That's why we have different levels of involvement of people. So first one is the usual market where people actually buy stuff, and then another one is the online service, and another one is metaverse. So we try to target different groups and target the development of the market from different points, so to understand which point is more successful, and to develop to that direction when we analyze the data. So that is the measure. That's how we try to measure the success of our project. Yeah.
Thanks, Nana. I think you've also highlighted, I think one of the biggest challenges is around behavior change. So I think a lot of your work will be on the ground, and we've just actually been working on a project in the Gambia with market traders, and the hardest bit is to focus on behavior change in terms of actually how do you get traders involved and interested in these ideas. So I think that is a huge bit of work in itself. I'd also encourage you all to kind of speak to the city administration or the public sector, see if they can be advocates on your behalf. And obviously they'll be playing a really crucial role in building this kind of infrastructure anyway. And I also really like your focus on, I think you all mentioned this as well in terms of it being very human-centric. So all about participation, the idea of having a citizen jury, and moving away from the smart city definition of just being high tech, but founding it on people is all very exciting as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. If we may, we would like to speed up the session a little bit. So if you can also keep your answers precise and also clear, that would be great. That's totally fine. We love to hear you interacting, but also at the same time, we just also wanted to make sure that we can proceed according to the schedule. So next, Jin Ha Book, may I ask you to address your question to Tim Moore?
Yes, that was about the rooftop garden.
Yes.
Yeah, what I have knowing about the garden is we've been discussing this rooftop garden about more than 100 years in the urban planning field, and still that is not actually implemented like in the word, but like in but there are, but like there are not that many that we are expecting and we are planning to. So there are a lot of laws actually have been made for the revegetation and renewable energy at least like 30% of the roof in many places such as France, Switzerland, New York, City of Toronto, and in Canada, and also I think in South Korea as well. And having this kind of foreseeableness, how can I say, some compulsion means that people are actually not easily attracted to putting garden roof in their building. So my question will be, what are some of the ways that will be to make your green rooftops beneficial and attractive for building owners, so intimate and maintain? I think you have lovely mentioned in the previous session about giving some benefits to building owner, but can you explain it in more detail?
First, our team thought that nowadays the climate change is coming and we faced out. So actually in like a regulation in New York, they give a penalty to buildings owner if they do not create green roof. And also like same to Korea, we have some penalty or some subsidies to green roof, but actually now in now time, this green roof is just for meeting regulation, like just create a loan, do not low quality, just low quality green roof. So if we thought that at first green roof is essentially more adaptive to almost every building for future, and government should subsidy or penalty give to building owners, but we focused on subsidy, not penalty. And if the green roof goes to good quality of green roofs were created more and more, people will thought that green roof is like one kind of factor of apartment or buildings. And I think indirectly, if the well-created green roof, then apartment price will increase. So building owners can get benefit like that. So I think this kind of way is benefit to building owner.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Team Moore and Ms. Book. Next, we have a question for Team Mecca. So Callum, whenever you're ready.
Hi everyone. Sorry, forgot to unmute, so I'll be the first to do that. Team Mecca, again, really exciting work on your side. We do a lot of work in education, and our friends at UNESCO obviously are the kind of leads in the UN system for education too. Would be very interested to hear a bit more about the kind of education content that you have in mind, and particularly in terms of how you see yourself providing content that is a kind of real differentiator in the market. Thank you.
Okay, so I identified two questions. So what kind of educational content that we are going to develop, and how is it differentiated with the current market, correct? Okay, so the content that we want to develop is really focused on the immersive experiential learning that we can have in city environments. For example, in museums, we see an object, like for example, a ceramic that was made in the Stone Ages. what we want to deliver is kind of an immersive experiential learning that we can have even in these museums. So imagine just flying to the Stone Ages yourself and making the ceramic with other people, with your parents and with your family. Like these are the kind of content, educational content that we want to develop. And we believe that our team project is unique in that our project is going to show the future of metaverse. Our project uses the pure advantage of metaverse and what it distinguishes from the virtual reality realm. Virtual reality is like a standing program content. What that means is that you're only presented with what is precisely programmed, and you must move accordingly to how the program is set. You really don't have the autonomy in the virtual world, nor can you have access to interactions with other people. However, metaverse is different. Metaverse sets a virtual setting for people to join in real time and to have interactions. And we think that this is a real advantage of metaverse. However, today, there's not a lot of content made for metaverse that can truly make this advantage stand out. The usage of metaverse is strictly limited to, for example, team meetings. Our metaverse content may look repetitive as it can be replaced with virtual reality, and you can just simply say that, how about just going to the museum? But it's different because we aim to create a metaverse educational content that allows people to enjoy 100% immersion to the virtual world and enjoy autonomy and interactions with other people in the virtual world. And this is special because it's beyond the geographical limitations and it's beyond the time limitations as well. You can just easily go to 100 years before and you can enjoy that. And it can feel like you're living in that world as well. So it's totally unique from other projects here and from outside this championship. And I believe this is the trail of the content that we want to develop and the uniqueness that it can bring to the board. Yeah, thank you.
Very passionate, thank you. A great advocate for the metaverse as well. Just one final comment more from my side is just when we often work with platforms like this as well, there's also a whole kind of thing about how do you build a kind of community of creators and builders and so on. So also worth thinking about how you start, particularly if you're looking at things like photogrammetry and other elements, how do you start working with, might be maker spaces, education institutions, even individuals as well, to start building a kind of pipeline of material, because obviously a platform will live and die based on the content that it has. But yeah, very exciting from my side. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. The next team that will be answering the question is ESC, Ms. Book, whenever you're ready.
The energy harvesting issue, it was very interesting. And there's several attempts in this application of piezoelectronic technology have emerged to harvest the kinetic energy to walking from walking pedestrians. And one question I have, what I wanted to raise is, like in the energy production, there's two very important things that we cares about in the in engineering field. One is production and one is energy storage. But in the proposal, it was talking about and were explained about the production, but I just wanted to hear more about the energy storage that you were thinking of. So regarding the energy generated by the piezoelectric devices, do you have any idea about the storage of energy, or will there be any loss of energy generated? That's my question.
Team ESC.
Yeah. You guys are question about the energy store, right?
Yes.
Actually, we didn't expect the energy store deeply, but we trying to plan that when people walk the energy harvesting tile, then we just change the energy to right after the walk and to use the escalator. So I think that we didn't think that we need a store machine, but maybe if the energy harvesting technology development, then maybe we could use the energy store in the maybe right under the escalator or the tile. That's our plan. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was actually thinking of, the system itself was when you're walking, like people, like 100 people is walking by, like in the elevator, and the elevator will be activated. But at night there will be like just 1 or 2 people will be walking, passing by the routes. Then the elevator may not work. So that means that there's some storage system has to be installed to operate the system and regularly, like 24 hours a day. I mean, like not during the night, but like that has to be worked somehow constantly without any pause in between. It should not be too much. It depends on the people, the number of people is passing by. That was why I was asking about the storage system you may have thinking of, but I think your answers was actually well understood. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Book, also for providing so much of your feedback and ways to improve for all these teams and providing your expertise. I think it's very, very helpful for all these teams finalists. Next up, we have questions for effective energy for better future. So Callum.
Thanks, everyone. So I've just typed the question to the chat. Essentially, could you and the team basically elaborate a little bit more on how you see energy as being more of, I guess, an enabler to the metaverse itself, and also the kind of value add of the metaverse for things like carbon reductions and similar as well? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think Kevin, please, can you answer that? Then I would come in later.
Thank you, Kalum, for your question. So, metaverse really depends on energy, like the rest of the world, the economy. That's why we said energy is the enabler of the economy or enabler or realization of metaverse. So we said, for example, if the entire world now changes or gradually moves to metaverse, then we're going to have more and more demand for energy, which means you're going then to have increased energy generation from the current fossil fuels or the current renewable energy that are there. So our project, which is key renewable energy through wastewater power generation. So our technology is going to tap in an area that has not been tapped yet. That is the wastewater. For example, we have very many complex in Seoul, apartment complex, malls, such and such. So all these apartments and all these malls, if we install our system there, then you're going to generate more power. For us, because our project is very, very practical. We have to get data and then we simulate the data, and then we're able to know how many megawatts or how many kilowatts is required for this specific building. Then you're able to generate power from it. So like for the example that we shared is from one of our dormitories. We are able to generate power to around 10,000 kilowatt hours per year. So we use the same idea in the other complexes in Seoul. We want to focus in Seoul. Like the wise man said, you dance a yard before you dance abroad. You have to focus home first, then you move forward. So we say, for example, we have our technology used all over Seoul, all the buildings in Seoul. we can have maybe 1 or 3 or 10 gigawatts generated. So then our energy is going to be used reducing the fossil fuels, which is going to reduce carbon emission from these fossil fuels, right? Every nation is targeting carbon zero at the moment, right? And Korea is not to be left behind. So with our technology, we are bringing in the 3 gigawatts, which are going to reduce carbon emission in Seoul. That is only Seoul. Let's do Busan. We go to Daegu. How many gigawatts are we going to get from this? Maybe 10, maybe 20, we don't know. That is going to like deduct a big chunk of carbon emission from these fossil fuels. And most of these fossil fuels, Korea imports power, like coal, Korea imports power. So let's say you wake up in the morning, shower, and you generate power for your own country. So you're going to reduce the electricity price. And in our data that we shared, the cost is 0.05 US dollars per kilowatt, but Korea charges 0.9. That is almost like, if I can put it in Korean, won is like 9,000 won, if I'm not wrong, 9,000 won. And what you're charging is, is 900 won, and what we're charging is 51. So for example, you're paying 900, now you're being told pay 51. So your pockets are happy, right? So now we have tackled the idea of realization of metaverse. Now, let's say all the buildings have all this technology that we are proposing to have. Then we are going to reduce the carbon emission.
Thank you, Kevin.
Maybe my colleague can say something, please. Thank you.
Kevin, thank you so much for that. Hugely, a great advocate for this. Thank you.
And let me just add something in addition to it. So there's a popular saying where they say energy conservation is best done when you save energy. And then there's this popular campaign that has been going on for a very long time. I know I could remember. You switch off what you don't use, right? Just to save energy or conserve energy. Yes, if that reality has been there even before the concept of metaverse is being developed to this stage as we are now, we all know that metaverse is a new technology which Korea is at the forefront. And we do know anything that comes into effect newly always has its glitches. So obviously we know the initial metaverse may consume a lot of power before subsequently it's going to be made more efficient in terms of the data centers, the electronic wearables you're going to use and all that. So yes, if we know it's going to be efficient, we should give it a timeline of at least maybe 5 to 10 or 15 years, depending on how fast technology evolves around the metaverse. So during that period, every ounce of energy that you could generate without you making reference to the coal-powered power plants or hydrocarbon-powered power plants, it's actually an additional savings in carbon dioxide emission reduction, which obviously it's the main goal of the SDGs 11, 7, and 13. So in that regard, every ounce of energy we produce, in as much as it's little, it kind of offsets the overall effect of the multiplier effect of what it's going to cause in the power plants. And that is just part of the key about our own concept or thinking about the energy aspect of the metaverse. It's just a basic reality that energy is required for daily life. Without the energy, we wouldn't be where we are now. So obviously, if energy is looked into more, then other aspects of life would also progress exponentially. Thank you.
Thanks, Helen. I really enjoyed your very kind of broader perspective on this as well, and your proposal, from the first to the fourth industrial revolution. Again, nice broad thinking. Thank you both.
Thank you, teams. Thank you, Callum. Next, Citypedia should be ready for your question, Ms. Spoke.
Yeah, this metaverse funeral is a very interesting topic, and my question will be, this project seems to heavily depends on how actively the end users utilize the services or the platform. What steps would you take to generalize the metaverse funeral?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for the question. So actually, to answer this question, I think I should firstly explain what the specific functions that our design metaverse have. So actually, there are two main functions for artist setting in the metaverse, and you could also find them in our proposal. The first function is shown in the second stage, which is to organize some exhibitions to spread the death culture and to spread the concept of tree burial, which is the basis of our like actual buildings in the third stage. So the first like function in metaverse is just to use some exhibitions and activities to organize it from time to time and to let people make the behavioral change through joining our exhibitions or activities. And so in this function, actually, many people could join, although they need to pay the exhibition fee, which is also part of our funding. But actually, it is quite interesting for them to like immerse in the metaverse environment in such a newly metaverse developed world. And also they could feel how like tree burial or like funeral museums, digital heritage important that will be critical in the future life. So this is for public market, for public citizens, and everyone have the chance to take part in. And after that, the second function of metaverse is actually using it to do the psychotherapy. We've noticed that the concept of metaverse has been widespread nowadays, but we do not want to do some empty talk. So actually, the metaverse psychotherapy has the basis that in 2020, a Korea documentation team make a documentary to record that to use a VR therapy to do the emotional therapy for a mom who accidentally lose her daughter, and this psychotherapy got a good success. And we think that this kind of metatherapy could like accompanied with the therapy from the professional doctor could be a great success in curing the people who accidentally lose their lovers. So, and also we combine with the natural language processing and the computer vision, which could generate a metaverse character with a more complete logic similar to the real person and with a more similar appearance with the actual person. So that combined with this, all technical skills, we could make the metaverse therapy also applying for those who accidentally lose their lovers. And we know that the second function's targets narrowed down a lot just for those people who need the therapy, but actually combining the metaverse with the doctor and the medicine industry is quite important. It's also a trend for that. And we know that metaverse is one of our topics in our whole project, but this is not the only topic. Actually, the DApp and the DAO we created is like more subjective of our like whole project. And in the DAO and the DApp, actually we're based on a DApp called RV, which could store some files permanently, and economic incentive models within the DApp and DAO is similar to the Bitcoin website, the Bitcoin app. There are some miners that have to mine the space to wait for people to use the space. And the people who want to upload their files, upload their heritage and will, they need to use tokens to buy the space that the miners have mined. So we actually have the tokens flowing around our DApp and DAO. So this is actually everyone with the computer, everyone want to be the miner, they could participate. This is the same, totally the same model with the Bitcoin or the 88 the system we have seen of blockchain now. So actually, this is also a great part. And we've set up an ambitious project, we know. So all what I've mentioned is in the online part. We also have the on-site part, which is in the third stage, we will build an actual park on-site. And in the actual park, like more citizens, even though they do not have the ability to use metaverse or dabble blockchain or something, they could walk in. They could get in to immerse the new concept of death. They could see some people who is willing to share their digital heritage, who is willing to share their stories in their lifetime, or who is willing to do the tree burial. They could just walk as a citizen to feel the park, to feel the immersed environment in their city. So combining all this part on-site and online, metaverse, DAO, and DApp, actually we've invoked a lot of participants, and every citizen could participate in our project.
Thank you very much. I actually wanted to use the system personally. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we have CDUT Warriors. Perhaps Callum, if you're ready. What was your question?
So just a quick one. I've just dropped the chat. Who do you see as being the kind of main beneficiaries of the financial system? Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'd like to talk about the benefit of the project can be divided into social benefits and economical benefits. For social benefits, and we have three perspectives. First, from the city perspective, it can be microclimately regulate and provide stable ventilation for urban public space and improving urban infrastructure. And next, for the block perspective, the project, our project includes ventilation installations and independent art installations, which can be used as entertainment aesthetic to bring vitality to the neighborhood and enhance the image of the neighborhood. Third, we talk about the urban furniture perspective. When people carried out outdoor activities, it is beneficial to human health and bring comfort. And second level, we talk about the economical benefits. First of all, our project can bring direct economical benefits through the PPP financial model, and the government and the private enterprise to achieve the two-win situation. And we talk about the our project can bring potential economical benefits. We have proved through many field research that there are more people in ventilated and comfortable places, and the space where the installation is located can attract a large number of potential customers. We think we have tourism. We have benefits for the tourism and the more specific benefits for the tourism. That's all. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. No further questions from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Callum. Okay, next we have Achilles who will be answering Miss Book's question. Miss Book, please pose your question to Achilles.
I guess in order to promote the system, to this emergency system, to make people use the app, the partnership with the hospital and 911 rescue team would be very essential. And my question would be, what strategy you have to link the users and emergency system, which is like what system the hospital actually and the 911 rescue team should have? Well, am I clear to you? Or
may I have your question again?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about how, like, what system the hospital and the 911 rescue team should have to link with the users of your system.
Oh, well, in order to link the users and the system together, we have several roles in our project. Firstly, we have the government to make the general control of the system. Actually, we will collaborate with the government to for the leadership. For example, we will make a collaboration with the emergency department in Chengdu. I think it is beneficial for the emergency system, and secondly, we will collaborate with the app, the app called the map. It's a map. It's a navigation map in China, which is widely used with people. So by collaborating with the Gaude map, we will promote our emergency system to the users. And thirdly, in terms of the user, in terms of the users, they will we will collaborate with the communities, the local communities in Chenghua district, and also the local hospital in that communities to make some propaganda and promotions and publicities for the users to get more knowledge of our app, of our emergency system. So I think by the three methods, the three ways we can connect the emergency system and our users together. Yeah. And also, Chen Xizhang. Okay, so I will add some more information to our to my idea. Should I share my screen? I want to share my screen with you.
Yes. Could you, if you could wrap that up like within a couple of minutes or so? Yes, please.
Okay. I want to add some detail to my idea. Actually, for our emergency system, we have altogether 5 parts. We will build a smart route, smart supervision, and a smart procedure, and smart classify rescue, and a smart ambulance. And for each of the 5 parts, we will construct the detailed, the specialized action, or the the actual implementation for each of the 5 parts. So because time is limited, so I just make a general explain to you guys. That's all for our, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for your answer. Thank you.
So the last team will be ACE Millennials. Yes, so Callum, you can pose your question.
Well, thanks team for your patience. So quick question from my side. I've just dropped into the chat too. Really exciting. Obviously, you're focused on a country where agriculture is a huge requirement for livelihoods, for income, and so on. Just very interested to see if you've had any thoughts about if you're looking to scale this elsewhere, particularly into other countries, whether in the region or more widely, if there are any other kind of cities or countries on your roadmap. Thank you.
Okay, so I hope everyone can hear me. Okay,
Perfect.
in that case, allow me to answer this question on behalf of my team. So I actually have a lot to share regarding this point, but I'll try to keep my point as concise and precise as possible as it was stated in the guideline. So firstly, a few of the criteria that we have selected in selecting the implementation location was the high level of poverty and hunger, as those were some of the objectives that we aim to find a resolution for. So regarding this point, we would like to mention some of the countries such as Nepal or other African countries that are currently confronting high poverty rates and also low national income. So, all right, because our focus is to make the most drastic effect as possible, it would be very nice if we could bring up the countries that where the implementation of the project will bring about such an effect. And such an expansion will also shine light on one of our strengths, the applicability, because our project can be implemented basically anywhere around the world. For this project could expand its scale physically without much hindrances. Also, because our project aims to expand on ecotourism, so bringing about tourism to local communities that were previously not shined light on, it would be very nice if we could bring up to the community that had not had the opportunity to share their cultures and economical aspects, so that we could introduce them through this opportunity. And so I would actually like to yield the floor to one of my members, Pian, who would want to add to this point, since he did the research for this part as well.
Yes, thank you, Min. You've almost said it over. The reason why we chose Nepal is because of its network coverage. I think Nepal is about 44 in ranking in terms of network global network coverage. And in Africa, there's a lot of countries that this kind of technology can be transferred to. For example, Egypt has very nice network coverage and electricity also. Morocco, Algeria, and of course Nigeria, because Nigeria is a hub of agriculture kind of in Nigeria. It is the largest rice producer of rice producer in Africa. So and it has a lot of labor force in form of youth. So with the introduction of this, for example, project, especially the metaverse part, will encourage a lot of youth to invest more in agriculture. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks both. Really exciting. Nothing more from my side. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. We've reached the end of the second session, and I wanted to thank the judges and the finalists for taking part in this very interactive dialogue. I hope you all had a very insightful discussion and that you were able to learn more about each other's solutions as well. So distinguished judges, I also hope that this was also a fruitful time for you to become more acquainted with all of our finalists and to have a better understanding of their innovative projects. With that in mind, I will now toss the floor to you, Anna, for the closing.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, I can't believe we have already made this far. We are so proud of all our champions teams. You've done an amazing job. Thank you so much for your hard work over the months. We hope the lecture series and the workshop series has served to provide you with the conceptual knowledge of smart cities and that you find them very useful to in your continued journey academically as well as professionally. And moving forward,
yes, the announcement of the final 3 winners will be shared next week on June 17th at 12:30 p.m. through Zoom. So kindly spare around 20 minutes, 30 minutes of your lunchtime if you can to Zoom in and find out which 3 teams will be the final winners of the Champions program. The winners will also present at the Seoul Smart City Leaders Forum, which is organized by the Seoul Metropolitan Government. And this is scheduled for September 27th at the Dongdaemun Design Plaza in Seoul.
Yes, and as mentioned before, the winning teams will receive a mayoral award signed by the mayor of Seoul, as well as the prize money. The first place will receive 3 million Korean won, the second place 2 million, the third place 1 million. And as just Jenny has just mentioned, the winners will be invited to showcase your project at Seoul's Smart City Leaders Forum on September 27th. Hope you can mark that on your calendar. And at the end of the year, the teams will be invited to WeGo's year-end ceremony and get the opportunity to network with high-level leaders and experts. So before we close, once again, we would like to extend our gratitude to our judges, Callum and Gina. Thank you so much. And all the champions for your active participation in all of phase 1 and phase 2 over the past months. Congratulations on your achievements. And thank you all so much for joining us today. We will see you next week for the last time.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you so much, Miss Jinha, and
thank you, Callum.
Mr. Callum. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Well done, everyone. Bye.